let's sit down and have a talk. I want to talk to you about some things that are on my mind, and I think they're important enough for you to know about. In on June 3rd of 2024, Gilmer County entered into a contract at 36 Mulberry Street. Now, it looks like the original purchase agreement occurred as far back as May of 2024. Sorry, it's backwards. Can't do anything about that. I have to take my word for it. May of 2024, with the final contract and modifications of the offer being accepted on June the 5th. Okay, June 5th, 2024. The closing attorney on this is Wilson Hamilton, and the closing date set for July 22nd, 2024. Now, this is a very short contract, 6 weeks it looks like, but in that period of time is a due diligence period. According to the contract, the county had 6 weeks to hire an inspector and find its way out of the contract if need be. If you all watched my previous video or read my post on Keep Gilmer Rural, that building was a nightmare. Okay, we hired an inspector. The inspector came in, couldn't access certain parts of the building, but the parts he could access showed that the roof was needed to be replaced. The windows had issues. The trim had issues. The framing had issues. I mean, it really was a hot mess. All of the HVAC equipment needed to be replaced. There was water penetration. There was a water main issue. But even with all of that, that wasn't the final straw with this contract. The final straw was that there was a Conoco in front of the building, and there's an easement into this property, this parcel. This parcel had a gasoline storage tank under the parking lot, so it was, I mean, it just wasn't going to work. Now, what the county had to contract to buy this beast for $1.25 million. According to tax records, Mulberry Medical had just bought this building in October of 2022. So, a year and a half before they began to look at this building. Now, this building was brought to Gilmer County by Kat Benitez, who were acting as the, you can see that. Sorry, you got to read it backwards. Kat Benitez, acting as the county's representative realtor. She found this building, thought it was appropriate for the county. Turns out it wasn't. Charlie Paris, Commissioner Charlie Paris, went in for a scheduled surgery, very serious surgery, July the 2nd of 2024. So that was subsequent to the signing of this contract and prior to the closing of this contract, had it gone through. Now, the day after, so Charlie Paris had surgery. Like I said, this is a long planned surgery. Everybody who knows Charlie knows it was going to happen on that day. He had surgery the very next morning at 7:45 in the morning. A special called meeting for executive session purposes was on the county website for 2 o'clock that day. So we didn't have much notice. So I put, sent out a red alert. Everybody, come who can. And many of you all did show up, and so for that I'm grateful. One of the questions asked by a participant that day, an attendee that day, a citizen, was, what's so important that we had to, the day before a national holiday, and when our commissioner is not present, to call this special called meeting? Executive session, privileged information. So, but based upon the people at the table, I saw Kat Benitez, who was, again, the attorney representing, the real estate agent representing the county in this transaction. Also present was County Attorney David Clark, and I believe it was Sandy Holden, because it was a holiday, and I think that our clerk was out of town as well. So we have one commissioner present. Charlie Paris is out of commission, not available to attend via Zoom or telephonically, as it was so soon after having major surgery. And John Marshall was not present. He was present telephonically. I'm going to read something to you from an editorial written by somebody. I'll try to, I may skip through a lot of it. It's a very long, lengthy piece. The rush for an executive session. Many questions surround the special executive meeting that was called last week. This was obviously the week after July 3rd. The executive session was called less than 24 hours after Commissioner Paris underwent surgery, thereby making him unable to participate either in person or by telephone. The meeting was both called and chaired by Post 1 Commissioner Hubert Parker. During the citizens wishing to speak portion of the meeting, before the executive session began, several citizens were curious about the urgency and purpose of the meeting as they came with questions at the ready. The meeting attendees present were Post 1 Commissioner Hubert Parker, Gilmer County Attorney David Clark, and, it was Edwina DeMont. Okay, so she was there. I just remembered it differently, but I'll take this editorial writer's word for it. On the phone was Post 2 Commissioner John Marshall, who, as it was explained, was unable to attend in person due to a health issue. Also absent from the meeting was Commissioner Charlie Paris, who, as I mentioned before, had undergone surgery the previous day. Before I get started, I will say this meeting should have been called off immediately due to Sunshine Law 5014-1G, which, quote, on any other occasion of the meeting of an agency or committee thereof, and so long as a quorum is present and in person, a member may participate by teleconference if necessary due to reasons of health or absence from jurisdiction, so long as the other requirements of this chapter are met. What are those requirements of the chapter? Well, according to Robert's rules, the rules, a quorum would be 51% of the number of voting members for a meeting to be conducted. So with only one commissioner, Hubert Parker, attending in person, a quorum was not met. Therefore, the Sunshine Law prohibited Post 2 Commissioner John Marshall from joining the meeting by telephone. Clearly, this rule was not followed. So this was the cue for David Clark, County Attorney David Clark, to say, this is not a legal meeting. This doesn't meet the requirements for notice to the public. Even if it was called for executive session, every one of these has to give opportunity to citizens wishing to speak. There are rules, and they should be applied, and they should be abided by. But David Clark did not call the meeting. He did not say this is an unlawful meeting, doesn't meet the rules, it's and sunshine laws. The meeting went on. Despite the lack of regard of the rules, the meeting began with citizens wishing to speak. The topics of the questions from concerned citizens covered many issues, from impact fees, crypto mining, FEMA, funds denied, real estate purchases, and finally the big question, what was the rush to have a meeting while Commissioner Charlie Paris would not be in attendance? What issue was so pressing that it warranted a meeting the day before a national holiday? Before the meeting went into executive session, citizens were informed that the only topic on the agenda would be related to a real estate matter. The property in question would be 36 Mulberry Street. And there were some due diligence issues that needed to be resolved. The citizens were The citizens were assured there was nothing nefarious being discussed in the executive session. That all's fine and well, but there are questions around the 36 Mulberry property lingering. I'd like to take you into a deeper dive into the property and circumstances of this county land purchase that give rise to concern. 36 Mulberry Street was purchased by Mulberry Medical LLC on October 14, 2022 for $750,000. Mulberry Medical LLC was formed October 10th with its organizer being Tina Holt. So let's see. there is Mulberry Medical LLC. I'm going to click on business formation. Let's verify this and let's verify this is true. This is true information. Let me see if I can get it to Tina Holt, Mulberry Medical. Okay, so this is true information. Let me see if I can zoom that in a little bit. I have to read it backwards. I'm sorry. I don't know a way to fix that. Okay, so now we know who's behind Mulberry Medical, and we can verify. Spouse of William Bill Holt Jr., just days before the purchase of the land under the LLC. The purchase of the medical office building by the Holts was from the B.T. Thomas estate. The building had been on the market for approximately 30 days, so even though they'd held this property since October 14, 2022, they hadn't put it on the market until 30 days before. The asking price then was $1.65 million. I'm sorry, it's laughable. When the county entered a contract for the property, the county contract for this building wound up being negotiated down to $1.25 million with a time period given for due diligence. Okay. I'm going to skip over a few things. The purpose of the acquisition, the additional cost of taxpayers, the need for parking spaces, the lack of parking spaces. This is before, of course, the inspection was completed, and this is also before this contract fell through. This person comments, and in their editorial, it seems to me the asking price of $1.25 million is a little steep for an unmaintained building with obvious extra expenses that will ultimately come out of the taxpayers' pockets. If you have attended Board of Commissioners meetings in the past, we've all sat through numerous meetings where Hubert Parker, a self-proclaimed fiscal conservative, would pick at the cost of needed government services. Several instances immediately come to mind, such as when the fire department was purchasing a truck with a savings to the taxpayers of $300,000 by purchasing the model truck. I think it was a demo truck, same thing probably, the company used at conventions. Commissioner Parker scrutinized that cost. I also remember him scrutinizing the cost of physical exams for emergency personnel. He also felt the annual funding of $3,000 to the Tabor House, which is a historical building, we'll get into that, for utility bills. He thought it was a big ask. Where is the scrutiny for that building, for this building? All right. After the executive session was over and the doors were open to citizens, we could see that Planning and Zoning Director Jim Smith had joined Hubert Parker. There's a back door. They can get into the commissioner's conference room from the executive offices. And I assume that's where Mr. Smith came in. Had joined Mr. Parker, David Clark, and Edwina Zaman. John Marshall was present, as we said, by phone. There was a motion by Hubert Parker to ask for a 45-day extension to authorize Parker to sign the extension and for any other amendments which David Clark had to cue Hubert Parker to add the motion. It was slowly seconded by John Marshall after he questioned, which he did say that. He wasn't paying attention, clearly. They could hear children in the background. He was with his family on a holiday. Let's just be real. There was a motion by Hubert Parker to which Marshall said, and during the silence after the motion, after he wasn't paying attention, possibly because of grandkids, citizens heard in the immediate background at the call, then both commissioners quickly agreed on the motion and the meeting was adjourned. So we didn't know what any other amendments would be. It could be pricing, it could be shortening it could be anything. So we did know that there was a 45-day extension being sought, and that's about it. And at this point, we didn't know about the condition of the building, and as I told you, the building, there it is, the rush for an executive meeting. There was no good reason for it. Okay, and we had until July 22nd. So this was a special interest to, this was a special interest of Hubert Parker's to make sure that this kept moving forward. So that got me to thinking, what is Mr. Parker's? So we now know Bill Holt, Mulberry Medical, is behind Mulberry Medical. What is the relationship between Bill Holt and Hubert Parker? All right, I'm glad you asked. The Parker family, well, Hubert Parker's wife is Nancy Knight Parker. Nancy Knight's father, Cecil Knight, owned a lot of timberland in Gilmer County. A lot of people know him. Not saying anything negative about him. That's just what he and his family owned a lot of land in Gilmer County. Part of that land was what today is where the roundabout at 382 sits, where Green's Grocery is. You can see that this was January 4th, 2019. You can see that. So in this order of judgment, there was an arrangement made by Hubert Parker to sell parcels of land at 382 to the DOT. I don't know if he sold it or gave it. I don't see that there's any dollar amount. So it looks like he just gave it to the DOT to build a roundabout. That process was let me see if there's anything pertinent in here. Completed January. Yeah, it was filed March 7th, 2019. Okay, so now we've got a roundabout, right? Got a roundabout in the works. Subsequent to that, the roundabout, yada, 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 we've got a roundabout there on the former, what was the Knight Parker property. Okay, you can see this is Hubert Parker and Nancy Parker. And this is the land description here. You can look it up yourselves. It's the roundabout. Take my word for it. All right. Here you have land that moved around in the estate. Cecil Knight is gone. Nancy and her brother, James Ronald Knight. There's movement of some parcels of land on 382 that eventually ended up in the hands of Nancy Knight Parker. Okay, and this is the parcel. This survey was done under that name, but it was transferred to later, as we will see, to be under the ownership of of Hubert and Nancy independently. J. Ronald Knight's out of the picture. This acreage then is subdivided by Hubert and Nancy Parker. Let's see, you can see now it's in, there it is. Now it's in Hubert and Nancy's name. And this survey is dated March 8th, 2017. Okay, so we know that this property is now in the hands of Hubert and Nancy Parker. So what happens to this property next? On June 20th, 2019, Hubert and Nancy Parker sold this parcel, or a portion of it. When it was put into their name, they subdivided it into 3 parcels. The parcel we're talking about today is a 99.62 acre portion of this overall 300-acre parcel. That parcel number matches this parcel number on this PT 61, which is a tax record when a sale occurs. This 99.62 acres was sold to Rolling Brook Farms LLC. I don't know if you can see that. Rolling Brook Farms LLC. Again, I apologize. Can't do anything about it being backwards. For $425,000. Pretty darn good deal for Rolling Brook Farms. There's your warranty deed. Hubert Parker and Nancy Parker's signatures on the sale. And here is your owner of Rolling Brook Farms. You see this? Tina Holt. Okay. So now we have Hubert Parker selling his property in 2019 to Bill Holt. Right? Okay, so that was, the date was June 20th, 2019. You say, oh, they sold it. No big deal. Well, there were covenants. There's covenants created for this in as late as October of 2020. So we know going up to October 2020, it was still in the Holt's control. Okay. Again, now this property is in the hands of Rolling Brook Farms / Bill Holt. And here we go. Bill Holt. What's that date? August 11th, 2020. Okay? This is the hammock phase 1. There's the land lot description. Okay? That's the same land lot description. This is the same parcel number. All right. So now we know land that belonged to the Knight family was transferred to, became the property of Hubert and Nancy Parker. Hubert and Nancy Parker subdivided it, and they sold a 99.62 acre portion of it to Rolling Brook Farms, owned by Bill Holt, to build the hammock subdivision. So here, who owns hammock subdivision? There we go again. Okay. Hammock phase 1. There's their plat. About 3 months later, and I wish I had the, about 3 months later, this guy rolls up. Hubert Parker. You know, the guy who just sold Bill Holt the property. He's caught wind that Dallas Miller is vacating his seat early, and in a special election, they're seeking a post 1 commissioner. There we go. Hubert Parker is made his filing 9/23, paid his fees. He's in. He's going to run. Mr. Parker runs against a couple others and wins with a good percentage of the vote too. Now, look what happens. Oh, darn, it's cut off. All right, you're going to take my word for it again. Once Mr. Parker is in office, if you saw the part down here with the final approval, which is just cut off, Parker, there we go. There's Rolling Brook Farms, the hammock, Rolling Brook Farms, Bill Holt, David Teague. David Teague, Terry Wilson, they'll all come into play in a different video another time. So we have these relationships building. See the picture there? Hubert Parker sells Bill Holt property. After he sells actually first what he does is he gets that roundabout in there, sells Bill Holt property to build a subdivision. Then after he gets that property into Holt's hands, he then goes and runs for office. And once he's in office, he approves it. Okay, so we have a business relationship established there. Now, where else have I seen Bill Holt injected into county purchases in the past? Well, glad you asked. Y'all know that courthouse we have, that one that everybody loves to complain about. It was established on January 13th, 2005. The original board members were, I got this from Roger Fudge, Max Holston, Ken Bailey. Ken Bailey. At the time, what I'm going to speak about is the property on Spring Street that was used for today's parking, what we call the parking area. It's next to the Tabor House. All that property used to be part of the Church of God. And the Tabor House was the parsonage. A lot of those buildings there were used for different county purposes. And the Church of God was there. There was a church building there. There was the parsonage, and there was some like school stuff or Sunday school stuff or something there. Well, in the months leading up to the county's expressing interest in the purchase of those properties, somebody called Appalachian Equipment began buying those properties. See this? All these parcels here? Yeah, Appalachian. Do you see? Let me see if I can find it. There it is. Appalachian Equipment. Here you can see Appalachian Equipment on January 15th, 2008. You see that? Bought those parcels with including the Tabor house for $1 million. Strange about this purchase is the valuation of the Tabor house of those properties was known to be, well, take my word for it. Let me find the paper. See this? This is dated February 14th, 2008. This is Times Courier. I don't own the rights to this. I'm not making money off this. This is from the archives, so I'm just sharing what I've discovered from the archives. The Montgomery County Commissioners have paid $1 million for a 2.39 acre parcel adjacent to the county courthouse for what is reported to be a future parking lot. The property formerly belonged to the Ellijay Church of God and is located on Spring Street. County Financial Officer Faye Harvey confirmed that the county's decision to purchase the property was made during an executive session. Here we are in executive session again. Love those things. Especially when they come to Bill Holt, right? Got to keep that executive session. Not subject to sunshine laws. The public, then we don't need to trouble them with it. The county's decision to purchase the property was made during executive session on the January 10th meeting of the Board of Commissioners. What day did I just say that it was purchased? I know, I just told you. January 15th. So January 10th, they made a decision. January 15th, it was sold. Now, who was it sold to? This was not in the hands. This is the January 10th session. See that? This is January 10th session. Appalachian Equipment didn't even own it until January the 15th. That's not all. The land purchase was not on the agenda supplied to the Times Courier. It wasn't even on the agenda. Imagine that. Where else have we seen that? No agenda. Executive session. Bill Holt. All right, let me tell you something here. It's important to note. During this period of time, you see this name right here? Ken Bailey was out of the picture. Hubert Parker. Building Authority. Okay. The land purchase was not on agenda supplied to the Times Courier prior to the meeting, and the Georgia Attorney General's office has been contacted as to the legality of the purchase behind closed doors. The sellers of the property, Rayburn Wilson, O. Lamar Hansard, and Lewis Stover. So here we go. Here's that document. These are they're the trustees, right? They're their names. Representatives of the Ellijay Church of God sold the buildings and acreage to Appalachian Equipment, LLC, for $1 million on January 15th. There you go. According to the Georgia State Secretary of State's office, Blue Ridge attorney William G. Little, we've seen that. We know William G. Little is Bill Holt's attorney on every. I don't think I've ever seen one that Bill Holt's attorney was not Bill Little. Of Appalachian Equipment, LLC, on the exact same day for $1,053,000. So the county purchased the property, okay, for Bill Holt purchased the property that day. And that's later that same day, The county purchases it for $1,053,845. The deed for that transaction was recorded at 2:46 p.m. We saw that on the deed I showed you. Also Wednesday, January 23rd. According to records provided on their website, the Gilmer County Assessor's Office had the entire property. Appraised at the sum total of $572,600. So now we have another instance. Bill Holt buying a piece of property the county has interest in, blowing up the valuation, injecting himself in the middle of something, and then charging the county more money. And Hubert Parker's in the picture. The property consists of 4 tracts that comprise the 2.39 acres. I won't show you it again. I've shown it to you twice. The Chastain and Associates, PC Georgia Land Surveyors, and recorded in plat book. Well, I'll go into that. Now, Chastain and Associates is owned by Gilmer County Commissioner Mark Chastain. Okay, Mark Chastain was commissioner at the time. He was also the surveyor. He's also the surveyor who did all the Parker stuff. He's also the surveyor. You get the picture. You've got Mark. You got a dream team going on here. The assessor's office lists the 1 tract as 7.77 acres with church building and parking lot. As I said, church building. The land is valued at $92,000. The church building is valued at $276,000 with the site improvement of $4,000. The total fair market of the tract, also determined by the assessor's office, is $372,100. The second tract of land consists of 0.34 acres, another building located on it, along with a parking lot. The land at that value is $64,000. It goes on to break it all down to the third tract. The third tract consists of 0.82 acres with an old house formerly known as a Tabor house. The land has a value of $53,600. The house a value of $32,720, and a site improvement of $4,000 for a total of $94,000. Okay. The fourth tract was vacant. Commissioners met on the 14th, and I don't know what, and that was the date of this article. Okay. See if there's anything else here y'all need to see. I don't think so. Okay. You'll get the picture. It's a 33-minute video so far, and it's a lot of information. Share this video. I really don't know what to say beyond what I've said. And I want to say so much more, because a lot of it you'll realize how much more involved it is. But let me just add this in here. Hubert Parker also sits on the Water and Sewer Authority Board. Part of the way that development is done in Gilmer County is larger and more dense development has to be preceded by public water and sewer. So if you're on the Water and Sewer Authority Board, right, you can direct some of that to, say, your properties that you own at the roundabout, right? Mr. Parker, in his personal capacity, created an easement for the Water and Sewer Authority to come and put public water and sewer. Excuse me. I don't know if it's water and sewer or just water, but it's with the Water and Sewer Authority. Let's assume it's just water. Mr. Parker also just sold his parcels that he owned surrounding the roundabout. He also just bought a parcel or two from the city of Ellijay, and also annexed those parcels to that he had in this county to the city of Ellijay. So Mr. Parker has single-handedly now been part of developing a subdivision, helping a developer, creating a roundabout, directing water to that roundabout, and selling property that has now escalated in value, right? Because now it's desirable by developers because it's got all the infrastructure they need to move forward. And we saw that in that land sale. And like I said, there's so much I want to go into, and I'm kind of stuck in this place because of the time I've already spent getting to where I've gotten so far. But stay tuned. There's a lot more to come.